I told you we'd be back for one more episode, and this is it. I am back. I got a lot more to say from our last video, which I only posted about 2 days ago. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch that one. I will tell you, though, give it a little spoiler. That one was a little bit more negative than this one. Probably because I'm in a good mood because we just won a game 3-0 against Leicester, which happens to be one of the worst teams in the league. And yes, they had a negative 37 goal differential before we walked in and scored another 3 goals on them. So now they're at negative 40. So definitely, yes, it was an easy game against an opponent that we should definitely win against. But still, we saw some things that were good to see. What's up, YouTube? Thank you for joining me once again. Thank you for clicking on the thumbnail, and let's get right into it because I got some things I want to get off my chest, some things I want to talk about, some positive things that we can look for in the future so that it's not as negative as I may have made the last video sound. I didn't mean for it to come out negative. It's just the things that were on my mind after all those business meetings and interviews that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Omar Barada have been doing about the stadium and things of that nature. So the football, Xerxes didn't play today, which was a little bit surprising for me because I thought he was one of our best players in the last, week of games. But actually, it was nice to see that the team could play, could move the ball around, could move forward, could create some patterns without Xerxes because I felt like all the positive stuff was coming from Xerxes in the last week of games before yet today's game. The other thing that surprised me was Garnacho's positioning today because I thought last week Garnacho playing strictly on the right side was a fantastic move by Ruben Amorim. I felt like Garnacho on the right side basically didn't have that option of cutting in on his right foot and taking a shot like he was doing every time when he got the ball on the left side. He got really predictable on the left side, and I think everybody knows that. We all knew what Garnacho was going to do. He was either going to cut inside and take the shot on the right or try to get to the byline and cross with his left, which most of the time wasn't that good. Sometimes it was, but most of the time it wasn't. Then he started playing on the right as of 2 games ago. And on the right side, you saw him connecting more, staying more central instead of veering off wide, connecting more 1-2 passes with Bruno, with Hoyland, with Xerxes, and also feeding them more in the box, trying to get more assists. And you started seeing like, okay, Garnacho's improving. Garnacho's becoming the kind of player that I think Ruben would want to keep around. I always thought that we would definitely be selling Garnacho this summer, which we're going to talk about possible sales in this video in a little bit. But I want to keep talking about this game. So Garnacho today got to roam on the right and come to the left. He had like a free roll. Now, I don't know if that's because Ericsson just doesn't have the legs to run up and down, up and down. So Amarim let Garnacho have a free roll so Ericsson can play just a little behind them because Ericsson wasn't really in the box all that often, right? Ericsson would only be in the box if there were a string of more than 7, 8, 9 passes where we held possession for a while, which gave Ericsson time to jog up and be in the box. So Garnacho got his free roll to go around, and I thought he was on the left just as much as he was on the right, which was really kind of interesting to watch. I'm starting to see something that I haven't seen in Ruben Amorim's teams before. This is something that I watched Sporting play plenty of times. As soon as they said that Ruben Amorim was going to be our manager, I went back and watched every single game pretty much of this beginning of this season before he joined us, just to understand what he was doing, what his system was doing, what kind of players he's using, and why he's undefeated, because he was undefeated at the time. Actually, not only undefeated, but had won every game that Sporting played. So seeing the freedom he's giving Garnacho is a little bit different for me. I haven't seen him do that before with any player. So I'm starting to think that he's understanding what this player needs, and he's getting the best out of Garnacho. We can really say he's getting that doesn't mean Garnacho's in form. That doesn't mean Garnacho's scoring goals like he was doing when he was in form. I'm saying his positioning and his involvement in the game, even when he's not in form, because I don't think he's really that in form right now, is pretty good. And that's a lot to say about a player who's not in form, and you can still tell that he's in good shape. Like, he's not hindering the team. He's actually making a lot of positive things happen. Now, the other player I want to talk about is Rasmus. A viewer or one of you guys basically got in my comments and said that I was misreading Rasmus, that I'm misrepresenting him. Actually, I'm going to read the comment, or some of it. I'm only going to read some of it because it's a pretty long comment. But he says, "Hey Semeex, I still think you're misjudging Rasmus. Haven't you seen the first fixture against RS when Dom DeLow, which we're going to talk about DeLow in a little bit, just ignored him. Frankly, do you think Holland, Lua, Prime Benzema, or even Ronaldo the Fenomeno could score many goals playing for this Manchester United team? Okay, let's break that down. There's a lot more to that comment, but let's just break that down because I think that it's important that we all understand what Rasmus is and what Rasmus is not. What Rasmus is a great channel runner who's really good when he's running at opponents with the ball at his feet. Basically, the kind of goal he scored today is a Rasmus goal. He got the ball with space in front of him to run at an opponent or a defender, try to create a shot or a shooting angle for himself, and take it. And he's actually good with his right and his left. He's really good at this kind of thing. He is not a bad striker. Now, what Amarin needs is, yes, someone who can do that, but also someone who can use his physicality and his body to win aerial duels, bring down the ball, and get the offense out of our half. Needs somebody who can come and check back, hold a defender behind his back, receive a ball, put a foot on it, and then release the ball to a midfielder while everybody else is running upfield. Rasmus is horrible at. He's not. I would love to say he's a little rough around the edges at that and needs some work on it. No, he's absolutely bad at it. He always falls down. He always looks for a foul, which is not going to get called in the Premier League unless the guy behind you is literally kicking you. And you have to look like you're trying to stay on your feet. You can't just fall down. You have to actually try to stay on your feet. And if the guy kicks you hard enough and pushes you hard enough to actually make you fall down, even though you're trying to stay up, then maybe, just maybe, the referee might give you the foul, the benefit of the doubt. Other than that, the ref's not giving you any fouls in our league, in the Premier League. He's not going to give you fouls the way Rasmus falls. Rasmus just falls like all the time when he has his back against goal and he's receiving with someone on his back. When he goes up for aerial duels, the guy could be bigger than the guy he's going up against and he still doesn't win the aerial duel. So when you say Prime Benzema, Lewandowski, Holland, these guys, maybe not Ronaldo Fenomeno, not him, because that wasn't his game. But even he could actually hold the ball. He knew how to use his legs. He just wouldn't win the aerial duels. But he would definitely knew how to back into somebody, put his glutes into somebody, and hold the ball in front of him. He was very strong in the legs, actually. But he wouldn't win a lot of aerial duels. But the other guys, Holland, Lua, Prime Benzema, yes, they would score goals. Because those instances where Rasmus isn't able to hold up the play, these guys would hold up the play, help the midfielders get involved. The midfielders would get the wing backs involved, and then the striker can now turn around and run into the box. And then maybe or maybe not he would get service, but the point is there would be more opportunities to get the service. So yes, maybe they wouldn't score as many goals as they would have scored on their own teams where they get a bunch of chances created for them, but they would have definitely had a handful more chances per game created for them because of that build up, because of that hold up play that helped them build up an attack. That's my answer to that question, but I do appreciate where you're coming from. I do understand why people like Rasmus Højlund and why people want to say positive things about Rasmus, because Rasmus, the things he's good at, he's actually very good at. I do think Rasmus is a valuable player. I think that if we were going to sell Rasmus, that we shouldn't accept anything less than 50 million, at least. We shouldn't accept anything less. Now, if Rasmus had the hold up play, which he has the body for it, if he could teach himself how to be a little more physical, hold people off, grab the ball, take it, and don't be so quick to want to turn around. Like, keep your back to the opponent, take the hits and punches and punch back, elbow back, do whatever you got to do to get to hold up the ball for about 3 seconds to then release it to a midfielder, then Rasmus would be pretty good. He'd be pretty good, but then he'd have to also learn how to make better decisions on which running lanes and movement lanes he needs to take when the break is on. Because sometimes he makes really bad decisions. Like, he always wants to run to the goal when sometimes he should be running diagonally away from the goal to open up space for one of his teammates. And just sometimes he looks like he just wants to run straight to goal, which I understand why, because he's really good. If someone can feed him the ball in that channel, he's really good at touching the ball and settling it in front of him and keep running forward. But that doesn't mean that it's the best idea every time a play is starting to develop and we're running at the opponent. That's my answer to that. Thank you, Cyberbully, for your comment. I do appreciate it. I do understand why uh we say, you would say something so nice about Rasmus or whatever, and try to stand up for him. I totally get it. And I feel the same way. I wish Rasmus would do the gladiator celebration every single week. I wish I could see him do that every single week. But it just hasn't been happening. And I know, again, you're going to say it's the service, and I agree the service has been bad, but he's not helping in those moments where he could be holding up the ball and helping us create more attacking opportunities. It's same thing happened today, which I pretty much just talked about. If you watch today's game, there's a couple of times where he was supposed to be helping us hold up the ball, he fell on the ground, didn't get the foul call, and so on. Now, Delo, you brought up Delo here, and you called him a name. I will say that Delo is probably the player that drives me the most crazy. And in the 94th minute, you could see that he drove the manager crazy because he couldn't even settle the ball. Ruben Amorim here is basically mumbling to himself, I'm sure, about how insanely easy that ball must have been to settle, and Delo messed it up. These are the kind of kiddie mistakes that Delo makes. He made another mistake earlier in the game where I didn't have time to go back and get that video clip, but he made another mistake where he had all the time in the world to head this ball to one of his teammates. He had all the time, all the space, no one was around him, and he heads it back to the opponent, which then actually ends up helping them get a counter attack, and they get a shot on our goal that Onana has to save. Guys, this can't happen, man. I'm so sick of these mistakes. Like, I hate these kind of mistakes when you have time and space and you give the ball away and you basically create a counterattack for the opponent. Like, and there's no reason for it. Like, if you're under pressure, you're being pressed, there's two guys around you, and you make a bad pass, yeah, there's a reason for it. You got outmanaged. Like, the manager of the other team knew how to set up his team to press a certain person, put them under pressure so they can win the ball back. Totally get that. Totally get that. But when there's no pressure around, the ball's floating in the air for what seems like forever, and you have an opportunity to head it to one of three teammates that are around you, and you head it to the opponent, it's like, man, in the middle of the field, at least head it to the guy down the sideline. So if you don't hit your teammate, it goes out of bounds. That pisses me off. Delo is not the old Delo. Delo from a year or two ago was a better Delo. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's gotten too comfortable at Manchester United. Maybe he's not working as hard as he used to work. And maybe the bottom line is he might be someone we need to sell this summer. Now, we got a lot of business to talk about and to take care of. So let's get to that. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe said in his interviews that we have to get the recruitment right. That's something that we haven't gotten right in the last couple of years, and we have to get the recruitment right this summer. We have to spend less and get the right players in. Okay, I'm going to be on board. I'm going to wait patiently, even though I haven't said this in the past, because I am concerned. I am concerned that we're not going to get first choice signings. We're not going to get the kind of players we need. And I've been saying we need to get at least two players that are better than Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes should not be our best player on our team. He should be the third best player. Now, if we happen to get one better player and he becomes the second best player on our team, fine. I can live with that until the following summer where we might get the next best player on our team. And the reason for that is I love Bruno Fernandes. This isn't me saying anything negative about Bruno Fernandes. It's actually because I want to get him help. I don't think it's fair that we're all judging him and calling him out for bad passes and wasting the ball and everything else, when I feel like what he's trying to do is pull us out of a rut because everybody else is bad at creating chances. Yeah, that's the truth. Like, I feel bad for the guy. He needs to be the third best player on the team so that there's two other players who are very good at creating chances and finishing chances off so that he can comfortably do what he does best, which is be that guy that gets the final pass in for them to do that with, because if their movement's good, he probably won't waste too many balls. Look, he's always going to try a risky pass and make a bad pass that's going to maybe anger you, but hopefully it'll cut down by 50% and be a lot less. And then we'll all sit here and praise Bruno for the great player that he actually is. And let's not forget, the guy works the hardest and he's available all the time, and he plays 90 minutes 2 times a week for season after season after season. And thank God, knock on wood, he hasn't gotten injured and been out for a long period of time. Anyways, So we need to get the recruitment right. We need to build a complementary squad, a squad that plays this system that we're trying to play, and do a better job of it. And we need to build it on a budget, not a silly budget, but it's going to be a budget. It's not going to be a big dog budget like we normally build teams with. At least that's the feeling I'm getting, unless we sell players at good value. Now, the good thing we got going for us is Marcus Rashford is actually playing really well. He got that England call up. Hopefully, I hope he gets some minutes in the international games and he does something with them. He gets an assist or a goal or something crazy, nice runs, whatever. I hope he doesn't get a lot of minutes, because with a lot of minutes, there's a risk of him playing badly. But I do hope he gets 30 minutes a game. Come in like the 60th or so or 65th minute and show himself, do something with those minutes. Um, because I really want somewhat of a bidding war, or at least I want, if it's Barcelona and he's got his mind and heart set on Barcelona, that they're coming in with a little bit of money. It's not just going to be for chump change. Now, the other player who's actually been doing great on loan is Anthony. Anthony's scoring goals on loan. He's creating goals and he's scoring goals. Anthony, I would, if you asked me last year, I would be shocked if somebody gave us 15 million for him. And now I would almost not accept anything under 25. Like, he's shown that he's worth 25, depending on his wages, which we're all not really that sure about, because we've heard rumors of like ridiculous wages, but we also heard rumors where it's actually not that bad. Um, sure, it's 100 grand or whatever, but it's not 180 grand like we heard last season. So if he's gonna go, I think 25 million is not a bad thing to ask for, and actually he'd want to go. So maybe he'd even take a little bit of a drop in his wages just to make sure that we let him leave. Um, who else? Jadon Sancho, we're going to get money for. I know we heard some stories that, he was coming back from Chelsea, but I don't think so. Fabrizio kind of cleared that up in the last 48 hours and let us know that Chelsea have no intentions of sending Jadon back. So we are going to get some money for it. Now, you add all these things up, and maybe, just maybe, and plus all the players we're releasing, like Ericsson, Lindelof, all the players that are just leaving because their contracts are over. You add all these things up, and just maybe we have enough money to pay that bill that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was talking about in an interview, where he said, even if we don't sign any players, we still have to write an $80 million check, 80 million euro, pound, whatever, check this summer off all the old debts that we owe on players that we bought in the past that we still are paying off. So if we sell these players, maybe that'll cover that debt. Now we need more money to buy players. Now, I'm sure we have some sort of kitty saved up for the summer. I just don't think it'll be a lot. With that said, I really think that we all need to prepare ourselves for some of the, like, a player that we don't want to leave to actually have to leave. I think Rasmus will also be shopped around to see if anybody's interested, because, like I said earlier, I don't know if he's an entire fit for what Ruben wants out of a striker. And we already have Xerxes, Cheeto, Rasmus, and bringing in another striker, that's just way too many. I think Rasmus will be at least shopped around to see who's interested and what people are willing to offer for him. I think that Kobe Mainu may be up for sale. I think that one of either Mainu or Garnacho was going to bring in the real money that was going to help us spend this summer, or even both. But now I think that Garnacho is starting to show the manager that he can adapt, that he can play as an inside 10, and that it could be very, very deadly, basically, and cause the opponent problems. And that it would almost be foolish to sell Garnacho unless someone came in with silly money. Whereas Mainu has shown that he's good, has shown that he's talented, but he hasn't shown enough. He hasn't. He hasn't adapted enough. He hasn't shown enough. He's got a couple of mistakes in him defensively without the ball. But also, with that said, and this isn't me saying I think we should sell Mainu, okay? I'm just telling you guys what I see, what I think. With that said, I also think that Mainu has a high sale value. Like, I think teams that come in for Mainu already know to expect to pay 50 million or more. So it's not some sort of, I don't think anybody's going to come in and offer 30 million and realistically think they're going to get him. I think they know that, okay, this is a young English talent that's already, a part of the England squad. he's going to come with a high price tag. And I think that the bidding will probably start at 45 or 50 and might go all the way up to 65, 70. And I think that that kind of money for Ineos might be too hard to turn down right now. It might it might pretty much fund our whole summer and give us a lot of FFP space because all of that would be pure profit. I don't know, guys. You tell me what you think. That's kind of where my head's at. That's where I think can happen. Again, this isn't me saying that I want to sell Menu. This is just me talking out loud about what I think is going to happen. Leave it in the comments if you disagree with me or if you agree with me or you have the same concerns. Now, what they do with that money is going to determine how I feel about that sale. So, even though I'm telling you guys this is not me saying I want him sold, I don't know if I don't want him sold either, though. Like I will hold judgment if they decide to sell Menu or Garnacho or anybody else until I see, okay, what are you going to do with that money? You sold him for what? Now, if they end up bringing in a nice striker, two number 10s, a right wing back, and a center mid, and they sold Garnacho and Menu to fund that, and they're all high caliber starters that after 3 months of next season, I forget about Menu and Garnacho because we're like flying with these new players. I'm gonna stand up and applaud and be like, "Good job, you guys did a great job recruiting this summer," right? And I think all of us would be that way if we win the first 8 out of 8 games, we're not gonna be talking about Garnacho and Menu anymore. At least I don't think we are. It depends on if we're if we're winning, playing good football. We shouldn't be talking about Manu and Garnacho because we would be like, yeah, if they were on our squad, they'd be sitting on the bench because these guys are way too good. Now, Delo, man, I really think we need to sell Delo. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I just don't. I think we need to sell Delo. And I know some people are saying, like, what if the plan, and I had some comments saying this, what if the plan is that Ahmad is going to play as a right wing back? So we're not going to sign a right wing back. That's why we let Kenda go. I really don't think that's the entire I don't think that should be the plan. Not that I don't like Ahmad as a wing back. I'm totally cool with Ahmad being a backup wing back, and I'm totally cool with Ahmad playing as a 10. Ahmad's that talented where he can play a bunch of roles, right? Not center back, but you know what I mean. He can play those two roles. But also, like, what if Ahmad gets injured? Like, he just got injured, and he's a young guy. He shouldn't be playing twice a week, 90 minutes a game. Ahmad is Ahmad, sure, and I like Ahmad, but we need to be getting in a right wing back that's a specialist, like Dorgu is on the left, and Delo will probably have to go at that point because we shouldn't have so many wing backs, or full back, whatever. We shouldn't have right back. Mazraoui can play that role. Delo can play that role, not as good as whoever I think we need to buy. We need to buy somebody who can play that role better, and then sell Delo, and then you have Mazraoui who can play that role as a backup because we should be bringing in 2 center backs this summer, or at least 1. You saw what happened to Licha. You saw what happened to Yoro, and now, unfortunately, it happened to Aiden Heaven. I hope it's not that bad because that kid was amazing. That kid is probably the one that's shining the brightest right now. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first heard about Aiden Heaven, I went and I watched some of his academy moments at Arsenal, and I was like, this kid can't defend. Now I'm like, this kid can defend, and he can do it pretty well. So like, I'm all about Aiden Heaven right now. He's really good. I don't know which photo to take down. I want to take down a photo and put Aiden Heaven next to Euro. That's how good I think Aiden Heaven is. But actually, talking about that, I am planning on changing the background until next summer, until we sign some new players, and then I'll put some new players up. I want to change it to something else, not players, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Okay, I do have something else I want to talk about, but I don't want to talk about it, and I do want to talk about it, but I think I should talk about it because I don't want it to come off like I'm being negative or toxic. I'm just telling you guys what happened, okay? So let's talk about what happened. So before the game today, I went and I watched the live show that the Muppeteer was doing. James was doing. I don't know what to call him. I went to James's channel, the United Muppeteers. Some of you guys know that. Most of you guys probably know that channel. And I was watching that channel. Now, at that channel, he just said something about Ugarte being really good or whatever. He was talking up Ugarte, which, let's just get this straight. I do like Ugarte, but I don't think Ugarte is what Ruben would want if he got to choose. Like if he had to choose what kind of center defensive midfielder he wants, I think Ugarte covers half of what he wants. He's hardworking, he's a hustler, he doesn't stop, and he's determined, and he's a good dual winner. That's Ugarte, which is great. It's great things to have. What Ugarte is not is a good passer, good progressive passer. So when I was doing research on Ruben Amorim before he joined our team, I went and I listened to old podcasts. I listened to people that knew about him because, he was already being talked about for a couple of years because of what he did at Sporting, winning them a title. So I listened to old podcasts. I watched old games. Like you already know all this stuff. But I listened to old podcasts too, and I heard it was either him or someone who knows him, one of his assistants, say that Ruben preferred Sergio Busquets over any other center defensive midfielder. Ruben was a big admirer of Sergio Busquets. He loves the way Busquets plays. Well, Busquets is a great reader of the game, wins duels, definitely wins duels, but he makes it look easy. He doesn't make it look like rough and tough like an Ugarte type or Lissandro type. He wins his duels just by being at the right place at the right time. He breaks up and destroys plays just by doing things like that. Positioning was perfect. Reading the game, perfect. But then the other thing that he did so well was distribute the ball, quarterback the team. He did it so well that people didn't even notice how magnificent he was. Everybody credited Xavi and Iniesta, but the managers always talked about, like Pep Guardiola always talked about Sergio Busquets. Which you're starting to, like Rodri is a little bit of that. Rodri is a little bit of a Sergio Busquets type. And Rodri, as we all know, without Rodri, Man City is like lost. If Rodri hadn't been injured, if Rodri was in form this season, Man City would not be in 4th or 5th or 6th place, whatever they're in right now, because I know they haven't been doing well. They'd be in the top 2 or 3. That's what I believe. I believe Rodri is the engine of that team because of the way he distributes the ball and because of the way he reads the opponent's game and knows where to be to break up plays or force the opponent to take a different route to their goal instead of coming right up the middle because Rodri will clog that space up. Anyway, intelligence. So somebody on his channel was saying, why do you always back up Ugarte and talk up Ugarte and everything else? And I said that, yeah, I think Ugarte is a fantastic player, but I don't think he's the distributor that Ruben Amorim's looking for. And you can actually see this. I want to show you guys this because I want you guys to do your own research or whatever. But you can see this on his channel from yesterday before the game on the 26th minute. Because why I'm bringing this up is important to me. I'm not doing it to be toxic or to hate on James. I'm bringing it up because James treated me like an idiot. Okay, so I want to bring it up because I'm like, no, man, you don't get to do that on your channel where I can't talk back to you. And so I'm going to respond to you on my channel. He didn't know who I am, for sure, because I didn't even use my Semeex football account. I used a different account. My personal account is basically what I use. And I said something like, Ruben replaced Ugarte with Hjulmand, I don't know how to say his name, Hjulmand at Sporting. And Hjulmand is a big-time distributor of the ball, long passer, progressive passer, and blah, blah, blah. So after treating me like an idiot and saying I don't know what I'm talking about, and that he literally said, wake up and smell the coffee and learn what this manager actually wants from his team, which is obviously going to piss me off because I think I know what Ruben wants from the team better than he does, because I feel like I spent a lot of hours studying Ruben and everything else. And with a little bit of my coaching background, I'd like to think I know what I'm talking about. But anyways, besides the point. So after treating me like an idiot, and then when I said that thing about Hjulmand, you can see him grab his mouse and tinker with his keyboard. And the first thing that goes through my head is, oh, this dude is going to use data MB on me right now to prove me wrong. And honestly, I had not gone to data MB. Don't know what it was going to say. Don't know if it was going to prove me wrong or right. And I was like, oh man, this dude's about to show me data MB. And I was ready already to tell him, like, I don't care what data MB says. I know what my eyes see. But after he got done typing, whatever results he found and what he was doing, he didn't show us. And he went on and said, I just don't agree with you. I don't think that that's what Hillman is. I don't think you're right. But before that, he had said, "Wake up and smell the coffee and like realize what this manager actually wants." So I'm going to show you guys what Data MB shows. There it is. That's Ugarte. That's Hillman. He didn't show it, and I'm pretty sure he looked it up and decided not to show it. So I'm going to show it. Look at the blue is Hillman. Look at the progressive passes and the forward passes. A heck of a lot more than Ugarte. Ugarte is red. A hell of a lot more than Ugarte on progressive passes and forward passes. They both have the same forward pass percentage, but does it really matter when Ugarte is only making a handful of forward passes compared to Hillman's like 4 times more forward passes? Now, defensive actions, which Ugarte has a lot more than Hillman, but they both win the same dual percentage, but it's not so much more than Hillman as is like the forward pass difference. The forward pass difference and the carrying difference, where Hillman actually dribbles more than Ugarte. And if you go watch the channel, he also said Ugarte is a better dribbler. Um, and whereas like the stats say no, and he loves stats. He loves his Data MB stats. I don't. I just go off what I see. But because I was like, oh man, he went to Data MB to call me out. Then after he didn't show it to us, I was like, let me go to Data MB, check out what he saw, because he definitely did. That's if you watch it, 26th minute of his video, he was click, 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 just waiting to show me how wrong I am. But there it is, guys. So just be careful with who you listen to online. Be careful who you think they are. Like, I get it, man. We all love football. And you're all allowed to have your opinion, but so am I. And I shouldn't be treated like an idiot for it. And that's why I'm saying this and doing this. And you clearly will see he literally treats me like an idiot. And I shouldn't be treated like an idiot for it. Guys, thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for being with me. I will see you soon. And we won a game, guys. And it was a fun game to watch. We won a game. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep the good times rolling. Comment down below. Drop a like if you like this video. And I'll see you soon. Bye.